What's up, Rockstars, and welcome to a very important video. This is probably one of the most important videos I've made, so let me just explain what I mean by what you just saw in the thumbnail and title. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, before we do that, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. If you appreciate the content that I make every single week for you guys and you can't give even $1 a month, there's a link down below. Thank you so much. Additionally, if you like this shirt, if you think it looks cool, stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll tell you more about it. Now, I'd also like to welcome a few patrons just real quick before we go in. I try to do this every so often just as people come in. So welcome, Nightmare. It's good to have you. I've never been happier to have a Nightmare. Boris, Macias, Jobum, I apologize about that name. Philip Steinmetz, and Zero Honor. Thank you so much for joining and for helping me make this channel possible by buying all of this cool stuff, making all this stuff for you guys, and the quality that I can hopefully do it for you. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. Now, obviously, there's some stuff to unpack here. So let's talk about it. First of all, what am I doing? What am I doing? Well, I'm accepting money. I'm providing a service and charging for it is what I'm doing. Before I define everything, though, let me explain something, I guess, to you guys. First of all, feedback's always welcome. Go ahead in the comments. Let me know what you think. By all means, trust me, I appreciate it. I mean, try to be nice about it. I'm like a real guy, like you can make my day kind of crappy if you call me mean names, but otherwise, I'm pretty okay. What I want to talk about is how this channel has evolved and then talk about trust a little bit before we even get into what I'm doing and anything like that. I want to preface it with this because I think this is important to overtly say instead of just assume you guys are getting what I'm doing, picking up what I'm putting down kind of stuff. There was a time on this channel when I refused prototypes. Just any prototypes. I refused to take a prototype. I refused to review a prototype. I would get asked constantly. Even when I first started, I wasn't even done covering hate. I was just moving into Nemesis and companies started contacting me saying, hey, will you take a look at our game? We'll send it to you. You can review or whatever. And I would say no. Why would I say no? Well, because it's a business benefit, right? Like I've always had this mentality in my head, right? This has always been my thing, right? Especially coming from the video game space. So I was a big video gamer before board games consumed my life, and like the journalism around that, especially the indie scene on YouTube, right? A little different than the board game one. If you know the likes of Jim Sterling and Angry Joe, even like Skill Up, all that kind of stuff, like you know what I'm talking about. So. Anyway, there's a lot of that like in my head, right? So I was like, no, I don't want that. It's just a business benefit. It would color my review, like there's now, even if it wouldn't, like people couldn't trust me, because I got this for free. I'll review final games. And it's like, well, why the heck would I review a prototype? It's not even a final game. That sounds annoying. Obviously, I changed my mind on that. Why? Well, first of all, it was a lot of discussion with you guys, especially my patrons. Once I finally started getting some patrons and some support, I was able to kind of bounce these ideas off of them and I didn't have to waste a video doing it, right? And through discussion, through kind of contemplating, through meditating on like, okay, what is it I'm doing here, right? And my whole purpose of helping consumers with my details videos at the time and Kickstarter news coverage and, compiling all that data was to help. Right? If I'm doing all this research, well, I may as well make a video about it and help others. And well, what do you know? People clicked. It was like, it's helpful. It's good to make content that's actually helpful, not just entertainment, like there's no fulfillment out of that, but I get a lot of fulfillment, a lot of satisfaction from helping others, for making a difference, right? For improving things, on our side of the fence. So with that, a bad game being on Kickstarter and me and everybody else falling for it. And then we get this game, and it's this craptastic game. It helped that I got like Massive Darkness, and I tried the campaign mode, right? You guys know what I'm talking about if you know what that is from Massive Darkness 1. And I realized like it would have been so great to like have somebody tell us this ahead of time, like, hey, like this is bad. So the benefit to me being able to provide information for you so that you guys benefit from having my opinion on the game at the time they're asking your money outweighs the business benefit. Technically, every prototype I get helps me. In fact, the fact that I put them up for donation to give back to those that give, which I think is a very nice thing to do. I don't know a lot of other people who give back as much as I do for that. But like the whole idea there is like there's a lot of benefit there from getting early copies, from getting exclusive, first look at Anastasia and all this other kind of stuff, right? But you guys trust me to have that not color my review, have me state in a disclaimer, hey, this was a prototype provided to me, blah, 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 right? And then you guys can, decide how you feel about that and do that. But the benefit to you guys of getting that at the time that the Kickstarter is there, where they're saying, here, put in your credit card information for this game, and then me being able to say, hey, I really liked this game, or hey, this game was kind of crappy, is huge. It far outweighs that. So I take that business benefit. I take that sin onto me, right? So that I can still provide what it is that you guys need. And there's not really a big way around that. It's certainly not a practical one. Because unlike even video games where you could just get a Steam key for free for review, or you can buy games on sale for like $15 or whatever, like these games cost hundreds. You wouldn't expect a person reviewing cars to buy every Lamborghini that they review, right? Like the reviewer needs to be able to review something that they didn't buy. When what they're reviewing is expensive, or high-rise apartments, or whatever it might be. There's all sorts of, even most of the tech industry at large. A person that's reviewing $600 headphones, can't do that every single time, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It's not very sustainable unless it's a huge market. We're in a kind of a niche here. So anyway, like that's why I started doing that. This is the same reason I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I believe it will benefit you guys. I believe that consumers win if I do this, that people get a better product. Slowly over the last, few years, I've been able to provide feedback and directly affect a rulebook. I can't probably count how many times an index has been put into a rulebook because I'm the whiny index guy. And while that's kind of a bummer position to be, at the end of the day, it means we get more indexes. That's a great thing. That's awesome. You have no idea how great that is to feel that I and I'm not saying I'm like fixing the world here, but that in some way I have made things better for you guys. Sold. I love it. It's fantastic. Speaking of all these years, I've been doing this for years now. And ideally, I've been earning your trust. There are people, not to name names, this is not just this industry, this is at large. You could think of the whole world. You probably have a friend that's like this, right? That like, for the littlest thing, for a $60 video game, let's say, would like sell their mother out, right? Like would just say any lie they would need to, would do anything. It would completely corrupt them to get something for free. And it's like petty things too. It's little things. And then there's people who can get quite large things and then still like rip on a company or something like that. I look at Linus from Linus Tech Tips. If you don't know that, it's a big tech YouTube channel that do like computer stuff and whatnot. But he's the kind of guy that even though he was making, millions on YouTube, he was still riding his crappy car and still, wearing socks with sandals, and bless his heart. And, just like he doing his own thing, wearing 2 earrings, even though people make fun of him because he liked it. And he would go from, this video is brought to you by NVIDIA or whatever, or Intel, right? Intel sponsored this. Thank you, Intel. To having a thing where it's saying like, right, the new Radeon's better than, whatever. And, or, the new Ryzen 7 is better than Intel's whatever. And has no problem telling you that. He's not conflicted in that sense. It doesn't affect him the same way it might affect somebody else. Not to say that I'm exempt from any bias, but that, ideally, I've shown that just because I get a prototype doesn't mean I'm going to give it a great review. You can look at a few examples for that. There are some companies that won't speak to me anymore because of that. But I tell it how it is. I tell it how I see it. And I disclaim. And that's something I think is really important, is that no matter what happens, as long as I tell you what happened, you can make your own decision. If you don't feel that I've earned your trust over these last 3 years, telling it to you as straight as I can, whether that gets me in trouble with you guys, whether that gets me in trouble with the company, it doesn't matter. I say what I say, and it might be unpopular with the company, it might be unpopular with you, but it's me, and that's what you get. Even if I haven't, you can still always get that disclaimer and then decide for yourself, is this enough or not, right? And then you can just kind of decide from there. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel about this. This is why I even went into this. This is why I even entertained this. Because believe it or not, this has been asked of me to do for over 2 years now. There have been people in the community and people on my Patreon that have begged me to do this, that have like literally said, like, you need to do this. You would do good at it. You would help. It would be beneficial. We trust you, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, just like the prototype. I said, no, I'm not comfortable with it. That's my initial reaction is nope, don't want any part of it. And then of course I mull it over and I think about it, and I'm really trying to figure out, okay, well, what's different, right? So then I start watching stuff like Linus Tech Tips, and I start noticing stuff like that. Like, this dude's sponsored, and yet millions of people still trust him because he still gives companies crap when they're being crappy, or whatever it might be, right? And so like actions speak louder than words, right? And your actions are really what's important at the end of the day, not all the meta around it per se. And so anyway, here we are. Let's go on and talk about this. Obviously, disclaimers will continue. So any company I work with, you're going to know. I'm going to tell you. It'll be written in the review. It will be public knowledge. None of this is hidden. None of this is being sneaky. There's nothing stopping me from doing something behind the scenes. I could have done this and not told a soul. The fact that I'm telling you now, obviously, hopefully, means something. Because, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of YouTubers that could do stuff and not tell you. And you wouldn't know. You'd be none the wiser. I could have been taking money all these years. I'd probably have like a nicer setup, but like either way, I could do that. There's nothing stopping me except me. And so as long as I'm still here stopping me, hopefully you're okay with that. But disclaimers will continue, of course. And again, the goal here is not to make some crazy bank and like become YouTube rich and buy my own Lamborghini that somebody can review. Not the case. Not going to happen. Don't you worry about that. It's to help people make better decisions and get better product. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Here is my page. You can go in and view it. Of course, look at this wonderful website. I wonder who spent countless nights making this look so pretty. Oh man, must be a great guy or lady. It's probably a guy though. I think I know him. Anyway, this is just talking about consulting and kind of what I offer, what I do, what I'm doing here. The big things here are that consultation can start from any point in the process. So just because you see that I consulted doesn't mean that I had some. First of all, it's a consulting. All I can do is say, hey, yeah, I think it'd look better this way. They can say, well, tough, we're not doing that. That's their prerogative, but at least I've given the feedback, right? Though ideally anybody I'm working with wants to hear my feedback, right? But it can happen at the very end. Maybe you just need help with some tooling on miniatures. Maybe you need help with, just their stretch goals, but everything else is all locked in. You're fine. Whatever it might be. I'm just willing to help. I'm just trying to help, right? I'm not trying to control everything. I'm not trying to make this some rigid system or anything like that. It's just, if you want my advice, you want me to spend the time to do it, then that's fine. And also, consultation is a service provided for a product, but neither guarantees or insinuates positive coverage in any video or post by the King of Average. In other words, I can still call your company crap even after we worked together. If you do something crappy, I still get to say it. You're not going to get a free positive review just because you did this. Just like already, you don't get a free positive review just because you sent me the game or because you try to tell me ahead of time, oh, and you'll get a free copy. Whoop-de-freaking do, okay? I have enough supporters on Patreon to where I don't need that, right? If I want a game, I can go get a game. I spend thousands getting games. You can't woo me with your game. It doesn't work that way. My patrons help support and run this channel. They provide that independence. Between that and the ad revenue, I can run this hobby free, right? The growth is always kind of something I'm trying to do and investing, right? Obviously, but at the end of the day, you're not going to win me over by just giving me a game or saying, hey, you can work on this. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll help. But anyway, so what am I doing and why am I charging? So right here, miniatures, campaign. In other words, if you need help with your miniatures, whether it's the initial sculpt design, whether it's tooling, whether it's just figuring out how to react to a manufacturer that's sending stuff back, or maybe you're trying to decide between manufacturers or anything like that. I have been helping and doing this on the side for free as much as I can all of this time. You guys have no idea how many companies have been like, hey, we got these miniatures from this company and this company and this company, what do you think? And I'll give them my feedback if and when I can. Sometimes it's late, sometimes it's on time, sometimes it's in depth if I have a free time, sometimes it's a very quick email if I don't have a lot of time. I do what I can, and that's what kind of separates this, because this is more of like I will spend the time, this is a job kind of thing, right? Like where you actually have a business reaction here. But that happens all the time. There are whole companies that have changed their manufacturer or picked their manufacturer based off of what I've even told them. Sometimes I've told them, hey, here, you may want to contact them, and they contact them and then go with them, right? So like I've already had a lot of this interaction. I've already done a lot of this research. I've already seen a lot of what there is to see behind the scenes. It's just now I'm saying, instead of me just doing it when and if I can, maybe 5 weeks after you send me the email, I can do it when you email me, meet your deadlines so that you can keep doing what you're doing so that we get a better product out of it. Same thing with campaign. If you want help structuring it, if you want help doing stretch goals, maybe, you're like, well, do we do daily? Do we not? We could discuss that. How much you show up front day one versus how you release it, what your update structure is like, whatever it might be, I can help with that. I've looked at many campaigns in a very critical way, just like miniatures. And that's something that I can do. I can spend the time doing. So, and again, hopefully we all benefit from that, including me, who wants, cool games and great games and well-made games and well-funded games from companies that are financially secure and not going to flake on us, right? Like, I don't want to back another Peterson Games or another Blacklist Games or another thing that has issues, right? Like, I want to be able to back with confidence. So part of that is this badge system. In other words, if a company decides to work with me, they are allowed to use either or both, depending on what I'm working on. If I'm working on their miniatures, if I'm helping with that, they can put a minis consultant badge there. Same thing with the campaign. The idea is, first of all, it's public. Again, this is public information. Nothing's being hidden. Nothing's being like stifled down. In fact, they probably want to be able to use this as some kind of advertising, whatever junk. But that's because hopefully you guys see this and are a little bit more confident, knowing that not that, oh, well, King of Average is going to fix everything. I'm only a consultant. I can't make decisions. But any company that's willing to spend extra time and money to try and make things right from the beginning, I think is a good sign, whether it's to me or somebody else. If somebody else wants to do this and they have their own badge, that should still show us something good, right? Because that's the company deciding to invest and try and do what's right. Now, again, whether they listen, whether it works, that's all up to them and happen chance and a million other variables. But it shows you, the consumer, hey, they're trying to do their stuff, right? They're really putting their best foot forward here and really trying to work on this and make it nice. So that's why that's there. Again, it's just there to make it public and hopefully instill some sense of confidence on their decision process. Not mine, theirs. I'll tell them whatever. Rulebook, I might do this in the future. Depends on my time, of course. Right now, I'm only committing to being able to do this. And again, I'll probably have to be pretty selective around what I do here. So that's what you get. Essentially, I am working with companies to be able to make the product better. And I go into some examples here. This is from Reggie Games. If you didn't know, I guess I didn't say it right here, but I'll be getting a testimonial from them at some point, just so they can kind of tell other companies, hey, this is like how he helped us. It was helpful. Hopefully. Anyway, Reggie Games does Primal the Awakening. And in case you were worried, I had already backed this. This is like not something I'd planned. They already got like all this money from me because I honestly am interested in the game. This was not part of the plan at all during the review or anything like that. I don't feel like I even need to go back and touch on that, because that KOA, that guy talking in that review had no idea about any of this. But they did Primal the Awakening. And that's kind of the minis I've been working on a little bit. I can't show you too much right now because we're still working with the manufacturer to get everything situated, right? It's kind of been one round of tooling, but I can show you a few things that I kind of look at, right? So like for instance here, this is essentially when you inject the plastic, you have to be cautious because depending on the pull direction and where it is, like if it needs to fill a large cavity and then fill a small cavity, especially a small skinny one, there might not be enough force in that injection to properly get the plastic all the way to the end. And so then you kind of shortchange it. So if there's a spike and it has to fill this cone, the plastic might get to like here, but not quite get pushed all the way in. Does that make sense? Based off of pressure and a lot of other things, but mostly just the overall shape of the mold itself. But thickening that can help that because it allows more to go in, so you need less pressure, right? So that's one thing that you can constantly look at. Of course, any kind of pull direction, you can have a negative space. So looking at that, especially, again, if you design it with that in mind. So in other words, if you start looking at this early in your first initial sculpts, there's less hassle afterwards with the manufacturer. But stuff like that is impossible, right? If the shield's laying like that, you can't have the horn and then have a space in between there, right? You have to, like, it's not possible, right? like you can't like put a negative space in the mold. You think like an ice cube tray, right? It's like there can't be a hole inside floating there, right? And so you need to either adjust the pull direction or make it a separate piece, but that can be really difficult on very small pieces. Plus it adds to the cost. Ideally, you just adjust it a little bit, the angle or whatever. And so I have other suggestions. I haven't shown that yet because, you know, it depends on what we end up doing, but I can show some of the issues. And then there are some things that are just the way they're put together. It would be incredibly expensive to manufacture, or borderline impossible to do very well, at least in a mass manufacturing still mold, situation. But there are crafty solutions that you can kind of think of, that you can kind of work through, that either I've seen from other companies or I've thought of myself that might work. And, like I'm willing to work and kind of make some ideas, right? And put some things forward. Because sometimes these manufacturers like, man, we don't know what to do with this. And they'll change the sculpt a whole bunch and stuff like that. And, every manufacturer is different, of course. But that's kind of an example of even just the miniatures I've kind of looked at, of what I've talked through with them, and kind of what I'm doing here. So anyway, there's actually no set price. I customize it based off of the needs because every company is different, both in size and scope and in ability and in what they need help with. So you might just need a little help. You might need a whole lot of help. You might have a ton of minis. You might have very little. You might want to have help all the way through from first design of the sculpts to make them fairly printable from the start to then tooling and stuff like that. Or maybe just need help at the end, or even just at the beginning. You don't need help afterwards. It all depends, right? So I'll customize both what I'm doing and what I'm charging based off that. It's nothing crazy, that's for sure. Anyway. I am working with game devs to hopefully make a better product for you guys, so that the minis on your table or the game itself, through funding, through proper stretch goals and stuff like that, end up better. And ideally, everybody wins then, right? The company gets better supporters, happier backers, and gets to deliver a better product. You guys get something better on your table. So. That's it. Yeah, let me know your comments, of course. I would love to discuss this with you. I have not been paid yet, so technically no monies have changed hands. But I can't justify spending the time, and it's hours. I've already spent well over a dozen hours just with Reggie Games for the first one. The first one's the hardest. It's a lot, and it's their whole miniature range, but it's a lot of time, and I can't justify spending that time away from my family for nothing. Except just a good feeling, if that makes sense. It's just too much, especially to meet deadlines, right? Like if you're like, oh, we got to get this back by Wednesday, and if I have to stay up late to do it, yeah, I'm going to charge for it. I'm not insane here. Anyway, hopefully this is a nice way to be able to help you guys and help support the channel some more too. Of course, it all goes to that. It's not like I'm going on any cruises anytime soon. There's always more games, there's always more setup, there's always more things I could invest in. I actually have a lot of plans for some services for you guys that I would love to start investing in. I need to pay somebody to get it going, but there are plans. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot for it. But anyway, that's all I had. I didn't want to keep you too long. That was probably already too long. I just wanted to kind of talk through that. I felt it was very important. I didn't want to just throw it up on a disclaimer, surprise you guys, not talk about it, not be available for questions, right? All that kind of stuff. So again, I will be having a video tomorrow that it'll be talking about the shirt and a few other things. I'll be doing a giveaway to you guys. And yeah, with that, guys, thank you so much for the many years of just awesome community you've given me. I'm beyond privileged to be counted among you guys. And yeah, talk to you guys again very, very soon. Bye, guys.